What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. A couple of weeks ago, I made a video talking about the top 10 rarest Pokemon in Pokemon Go. You guys absolutely smashed that like button and really seemed to enjoy that topic, so I figured, why not go ahead and make a video talking about the top 10 shiny Pokemon in Pokemon Go? Now, just a little bit of a heads up, there are going to be quite a few on this list that are on here because of some type of hat variation, so I want to start off with a question of the day centered around that. What is your favorite hat Pokemon in Pokemon Go? Mine personally is a Party Hat Wurmple, absolute monster of a Pokemon. Definitely enjoyed that, and want to give a brief shout out to the Cowboy Hat Caterpie, please. Niantic does that, that's going to be amazing. Also want to give a brief shout out to Lucky Buns. So Lucky Buns helped me do the research on this, and there was quite a bit of research that went into this because there's some very specific situations on some of them, very difficult to obtain, and then of course finding screenshots to a couple of these was extremely difficult. So I'm going to put a link to his channel in the description below, so make sure you go ahead and check his videos out. But anyways, if you do enjoy this episode, and of course you do like it, hit that thumbs up button, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Let's start this one off with a party. So we are talking about Party Hat Nidorino as well as Party Hat Gengar. These two Pokemon are of course on the launch screen in the Pokemon franchise, a little bit of a throwback to that, but the reason why these Pokemon are just so rare is because they were released for one day in Pokemon Go during a 3-hour raid event. That was the only time that you could get these Pokemon. Now, a lot of people at the time definitely went out and raided, but if you were to pick between the two and which one is going to be the least common in the game, I would actually say that it's Party Hat Nidorino. The reason for that is because so many people were focused on getting themselves the Party Hat Gengar, of course getting it a shiny out of that one, that I think Nidorino got a little bit neglected on that end, so I would say that it is probably the rarer of the two, but definitely let me know if you've got yourself a shiny Party Hat. In at the number 9 spot is a Pokemon that does not contain a hat, which is pretty interesting, and that is a shiny Spinda. Now, of course, to get yourself a shiny Spinda, you have to find a particular field research that is going to give out a chance at a Spinda, and then of course keep going until you finally get a shiny Spinda. But because there are just simply so many tasks, it can be very tedious and very difficult to find yourself enough Spinda researches to finally get yourself a shiny variation of it. But I think with all of these kind of steps being involved with this particular Pokemon, there aren't necessarily a lot of shiny Spindas. Now, of course, keep in mind this is number 9 on the list. As we go up, it's going to get even crazier. In at the number 8 spot's actually one of my personal favorite on this list, and that is Shiny Shadow Pokemon from leaders of Team Go Rocket. Now, first things first, you've got to battle a ton of grunts to even get a chance at a battle with a team leader, and then you've got just a chance of running across a shiny, and then to add the cherry on top, there's actually been a rotation of Pokemon throughout the different team leader encounters, so there's actually been some stupid rare ones. I would say that the most sought after one, the most desirable one right now, for example, could be something like a shiny Shadow Beldum, but there's actually going to be rarer ones, and some of the ones that I would personally like to highlight, for example, could be something like a shiny Shadow Bagon. That is just insanely rare, and even something like a shiny Shadow Stantler is also rare. Just think about that. Sure, you may have seen one, but I thought that was a pretty cool one, and it's actually going to be a little bit of a hint to something that we're going to see at the number 5 spot later on in this video. In the number 7 position is the shiny starters with a hat, excluding something like a Pikachu. So we're talking about Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and then of course Charmander with some type of hat. As far as I'm concerned, two of the biggest highlights, for example, could be the Halloween event. That was such a cool thing to finally see another Pokemon in the game get a hat besides Pikachu, and my personal favorite was probably the Charmander with the skull. Thought that that was fantastic, but these Pokemon ended up being put into raids, but for the most part, I felt like people didn't necessarily want to use their free passes on this Pokemon that would not be able to evolve or anything like that. So it really came down to a full-on collector's perspective, and this also got extended into GoFest as well. If you were lucky enough to get yourself a shiny starter with a GoFest hat, I would say that that is also fairly rare. But in all, this position is centered down to those shiny starters with some sort of hat, my personal favorite being the Halloween ones. In at the number 6 position is featuring a tie between two Pokemon throughout Pokemon Go Fest 2020. The first one that I would say is probably a little less rare is a shiny unknown from GoFest. That is something that a lot of people have definitely sought after, but it was released during GoFest. We actually ended up seeing the G variation as well as the O variation being made available in a shiny form. So of course, if you got yourself one, consider yourself lucky. The secondary Pokemon that I also wanted to put somewhat as a tie is a shiny Durant. Shiny Durant is one that you just didn't really see a lot of people getting throughout GoFest. It was definitely a little bit more on the rarer side. For whatever reason, this Pokemon in particular, out of the rest of them at GoFest, just didn't end up showing up as much as a shiny. So of course, if you've got yourself one, once again, consider yourself lucky. So I mentioned this Pokemon before a little bit when we were talking about those shiny shadow Pokemon. In this position, it is a shiny Stantler. But to be a little bit more specific, we're not talking about a Stantler with bells that ended up being featured in an event and became way more abundant. Instead, we're talking about a shiny Stantler that does not have the bells. And I guess you could go ahead and include that with the shiny shadow Stantler that doesn't have bells as well. Definitely on the rarer side out of all of the Pokemon on this list. I personally haven't seen anybody that I've known catch themselves a shiny Stantler. I've seen some online, but it is definitely on the rare side. Let me know if you have one in the comments section. In at the number 4 position, we're talking about a regional exclusive Pokemon, Mime Jr. And the reason why this Pokemon is so much rarer than its post-evolution Mr. Mime is because Mr. Mime, although also being a regional exclusive Pokemon, is available in the wild throughout the European region, but it's also been featured in events where you had a chance at hatching yourself a shiny Mr. Mime. I myself have a shiny Mr. Mime. So the reason why Mime Jr. is actually rare is because it has not been featured in any event like that. It was simply released into the egg pool in the European region. You have to obtain it from a European region Pokestop or gym to of course get yourself a chance at this Mime Jr. But because of all of the red tape going around it and it only being released in one spot in the eggs, Mime Jr. is single-handedly, in my opinion, the rarest of the regional exclusive Pokemon, especially talking about the shiny variation being available. In at the number 3 spot, we're finally bringing it back to the Hat Pokemon, and we are talking about an Ash Hat Pichu. So this time we're talking about Pichu as opposed to Pikachu. Pikachu with the Ash Hat has been available in the wild as well as the egg system, but Pichu is exclusive to the egg, so it was extremely difficult at the time to even get yourself a Pichu because the egg pool was just so vast and it was during a very limited time during a very specific event. So getting yourself just an Ash Hat Pichu period was extremely difficult to do, let alone getting a shiny variation of that Ash Hat Pichu. If you've got one, it was actually super hard to find a screenshot of it. Let me know in the comment section below. I can promise you these next two are going to be so crazy, and they actually have to do with Niantic messing up the spawn rates for these Pokemon. For the second position, we've got a shiny Detective Pikachu. Now there ended up being an event where you could end up getting a Detective Pikachu photobomb whatever Pokemon you were taking a picture of, and of course people were doing that, but they noticed that throughout the event there just weren't anybody getting any type of shiny variation until the very end. And here's what you had to do to actually get yourself a chance at a shiny Detective Pikachu, which is just insane. Near the end of the event, you had to, of course, get the encounter for Pikachu to just show up, right? So you went ahead and you took a screenshot moments before the event actually ended, and then it ends up popping up on the screen. Now, instead of encountering that Pokemon, you simply wait until the event was over, and then you ended up going into the encounter for the Pikachu, and if you got lucky, during that very specific scenario, you could get yourself a shiny Detective Pikachu, which is just insane. Just imagine being a person out there who has themselves a shiny Detective Pikachu. Once again, a very difficult Pokemon to end up finding, and it is honestly super rare just because Niantic messed it up and did not actually release it throughout the entire event. In at the number 1 position is a little bit more on the joke side, but I also want to know what you think about it in the comment section below. So I decided to put in a shiny hatched Dino in at the number 1 position. This Pokemon was released in its shiny variation as well as featured throughout the Dragon Week of 2020, and people were able to obtain it from special research, able to obtain it from Go Battle League encounters, but on the flip side, hatching one of these proved to be extremely difficult. The hatch rate throughout the event ended up being around a 1% chance to just encounter a Dino. Let's go ahead and give a little bit of a comparison. A fellow rare Pokemon from the egg pool as well, such as a Gibble, ended up getting a 10% chance to hatch that one. So 1 out of 100 eggs, you've got a chance of getting a Dino. And then just imagine how much that gets amplified when you're talking about running across a shiny Dino out of the eggs, which is just extremely rare. But I would love to know what you think about that entire situation. I actually made a full-on video about that, so if you're interested in that topic, definitely check it out. I'll put a link in the description. But anyways, I hope you did enjoy this video. I want to know what your favorite Pokemon on this list was in the comment section below, and I will see you next time. Huge shout out to the supporters over at Patreon. If you would like to get exclusive perks, make sure to check out that link in the description, and I will see you next time.